Good morning, everyone. It's Wednesday, and we are on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange to break down today's market action. Jim, stocks are down. Are we going to see this rotation for trade?
Well, it should be. We could. I mean, look, the down volume is much heavier than the up volume, but actually volume all on itself is very light. I would point out that when we get tariff news, in other words, when we hear that they're proposed and they might happen, people rotate into real estate investment trusts. I have a piece of real money about this. People rotate into healthcare, and people rotate into utilities. Now we had a very hot PPI number today, which therefore may temper that rotation. There are sellers in all the usual names, the industrials. I'm going to be talking about this on my Action Alert Club call at 11:30 because it's just so time-honored now. Let's go sell Caterpillar. Let's go sell Boeing. I mean, it's almost nauseating how people just say, all right, got to dump these great stocks, and particularly Boeing, which doesn't really need China as much as China needs Boeing. There's a lot of a lack of thought going on among the sellers, and I say that because we went up 3% post the admittedly much smaller target tariffs. You should start thinking about individual companies and whether they're really hurt or not. We own a bunch of them. We have a diversified portfolio. It's not unusual. We're going to talk about it on the call. But in the end, yes, we have to have sellers because we had so many buyers after the tariff, and the buyers were, for the most part, into the industrials and techs, betting that we were done with trade for now, and we're obviously not going to be done. We're not going to be done with trade until there's a tariff on every single import from China. That's how Peter Navarro thinks. Peter Navarro is running the show.
And Jim, when you say China needs Boeing more than Boeing needs China, I think China stocks agree with you. The Shanghai Composite was down 1.7%.
We have to stay very close. I'm spending a lot of time on my club call today about China. China, the weakling, not China, the strongman.
And you talked about that rotation earlier. Maybe one of those stocks that tends to benefit is Pfizer. That's real money's stock of the day.
Yeah, so our stock of the day, which we just do wall-to-wall coverage, is Pfizer, which I think, and I did this on Mad Dash, is going to split into 3 different entities. Now, they made it very clear that they are internally dividing into some entities. The entities are all pretty interesting. There's a high-growth entity that I'm kind of really liking. A generic entity I don't like so much, a hospital-like entity that reminds me of Becton Dickinson, which rang the bell today. So I think that what people should recognize is Pfizer hasn't hurt in value. It hasn't hurt you. I know that's not really what you want to hear from a stock. It's slow and steady. Does it win the race? With this news, if Ian Reid follows through, it does win the race.
And according to a tweet from President Trump, they are delaying some of their price increases.
I don't know why I picked on Pfizer. I mean, Ian Reid was his biggest supporter when it comes to tax reform. I've not recommend Pfizer. We own Lilly for action alerts for the club, and I like J&J. Abbott is a device company, and we like Abbott very much.
Jim, I'm sure you'll be talking about oil in your Action Alerts Plus call
definitely.
Today.
This is a great chance. I mean, look, Libya's back online. Okay. We never really took them offline if you tried to figure out. Remember, we got some numbers from David Demscher from Core Laboratories, and the numbers are clear. Demand, after being the same at 1% for 23 years, is now 1.5%. And supply, well, they're just not drilling. And if they're not drilling, then you shouldn't be. You should view every single dip in oil as a chance to buy. We'll go over that in the club call too.
Yes, the Core Lab CEO also told you oil is headed to 100 a barrel.
Yeah, and he said within 2019, 2020. Now look, I see it. I mean, Schlumberger, which the trust owns, has said over and over again, look, we're missing the numbers. We're missing the numbers because we haven't seen the orders. What Core Laboratories was really responding to was the June 29th pre-announcement, where they didn't make their numbers, and he was trying to explain, well, look, it's very difficult. If the national oil companies don't start drilling, don't start exploring, then they're not going to make their numbers. Now they're going to find another way because there's so much business in Permian. They offer so much technology. But I want you to keep this in front of you. There is not enough oil in the world right now because the big nations aren't Mexico, Brazil to some degree. Petrobras an upgrade today from Barclays. But if you look off of Africa, if you look off of Latin America, deep sea, where all the oil is, there's nothing happening. Look, if you look at Venezuela, nothing happening. So when oil's down, buy. And I'll tell you, we're going to be very close to this issue on the club call.
Yes, Action Alerts has added a new oil name. You'll talk about that today at 11:30 on Action Alerts
I'm
Plus.
going back and forth with my colleague Jeff Marks about it. I think it'll be very interesting, very informative.
We're looking forward to that. Meanwhile, Jim, who do you have coming up on Mad Money tonight?
Well, I just booked Canopy Growth, which is a company everybody seems to be curious. This is I'd say other than GTI, Green Thumb, that only trades in Canada, Canopy is, I don't want to say use the word legitimate. I defer to my friend Deborah Borchardt, who is the marijuana expert. But Canopy is a company that Constellation Brands has, Rob Sands, has deemed to be a potential winner in the space, and I think it's a very good company. They made an acquisition. I got VMware, which is one of our cloud kings. It's just a fantastic company. It's doing, I'm not going to be focused on the machinations of what's going on with Dell, and we're talking about the actual business because that's more important, but they give you a special dividend. And then I have Bluestone Lane, and that is a artisanal private coffee company that's going to double. They had 11 stores in October. Now they have 30. They're going to have 60 with an infusion of cash they just got. And what's really important is that when you saw other companies, when they got to say critical mass 50, 60, they got bids. And could this happen to these guys? They want to continue to grow the company, but anything's possible. And I know Nestle's is an acquirer, and JAB is an acquirer. So it's a private story, I know, but I got to stay close to everything.
All right, that's tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern on CNBC.
Yeah, I mean, Blue Bottle got a $500 million bid from Nestle with 50 stores.
Especially in New York, those stores are all over the place. Okay, Jim, we're going to continue in our ActionAlertsPlus.com video. Join us there.